Hello, and welcome to episode 1, I guess, of the Clear the Air podcast. If you tuned in last week, you would have heard episode what we're calling 0, which was just the introduction to the podcast, what it's going to be about, what you can expect, and why I started the podcast. So if you're on this episode, thank you for tuning in and listening to my journey and wanting to hear what I have to say. This is really exciting, and I received so much amazing feedback last week after I released the episode. It was a long time coming, and I was scared. I was afraid to release the episode because I was worried what people would think, if it would meet their expectations, and I learned that you just have to do it. If you want to do it, that's all you can do, and it was a huge success, and I'm really happy. You'll have to excuse me. I am sick again. I don't think I ever wasn't sick over the past 2 or 3 weeks. It's just been on and off, and today is not a great day. It always seems to be that the days I'm sick are the days I film. Whatever. That's cool. Maybe that's when I think best. I don't know. Anyways, today's topic is about starting a sustainable lifestyle. I think for a lot of people who aren't really familiar with what a sustainable lifestyle is like, it can seem really intimidating just to take those first few steps to say, I want to live more sustainably. I want to reduce my waste. I want to use less energy. All these different things that encompass sustainability. It can seem very overwhelming if you don't know where to start. I was in that position, honestly. I think I really began my sustainability transition when I was in my first year of university. So I'm in third year now, so that's technically 2 years ago. And I've come such a long way since that time. And when I first began the journey, I really had no clue what I was doing. And looking back now, there's a few things I wish I could teach myself while I was going through that process that I now have this knowledge and this wisdom of having gone through it for a few years. So I want to share that knowledge with you, whether you are just beginning your sustainability journey, you are well on your way to becoming a quote unquote sustainability expert, or if you're just curious to learn more about the topic and you want to improve your sustainability skills. I think this is a great podcast for anyone who's just interested in being engaged and learning more about the sustainability lifestyle. With that in mind, I have 5 key tips that I want to share with you based on my own experiences going through the sustainability journey, what I have found to be most helpful. And if I could go back to first year Jenna and say, these are the 5 things you need to know going into this, that's what I'm sharing with you today. And I hope that you take these tips and these lessons and apply them to your life and learn how they can be relevant to not just you and your sustainability journey, but also just other things that you're going through, other changes in life, other goals that you want to achieve. I feel like they are very transdisciplinary. They can cross multiple sectors, not just sustainability. But if you start to implement these tips and these skills in your sustainability journey, they will be that much easier to apply in other aspects of your life. So with that, here are my top 5 tips for starting your sustainability journey. First of all, start small. That's easier said than done. When you're starting your journey, you think, I want to be this person. I saw this really amazing zero waste lifestyle blogger, or I saw this post on Instagram by this influencer, and I just want to live like them. They look so happy. They look like they're living an amazing, sustainable lifestyle. They didn't just start that journey now. They've been doing that for years. They've actually spent probably a lot of money in that journey. And it might not be as glitz and glamour as it appears, especially when you're looking at something on Instagram, because it's very made up. It's what people want you to see. You don't see the nitty-gritty behind what actually goes on in that sustainability lifestyle. You don't see all the products they had to throw away or all the different products they had to try in order to get to where they are now. So when I say start small, I really mean start small. Don't think I want to change my whole diet to reduce my waste. Start by saying, I want to reduce waste that I create in the grocery store, or I want to cut down on my avoidable food waste. So let's say you're used to cutting the skins off your potatoes. Why don't you keep the skins on? Why don't you try it that way? It's totally safe. You just have to make sure you wash them well. And there's actually more nutrients in the potato skins. So start small with something like that. Just say, I want to reduce my food waste by cutting down on the avoidable waste. I am creating a lot of food waste right now that I don't have to be. And by avoiding this food waste, I'm not only saving money for myself, I'm also fueling my body with better nutrition, and I'm helping the environment. And then as you get used to those tips, or as you get used to those practices of reducing your food waste, then you can step it up and say, okay, I'm going to bring reusable produce bags to the grocery store, and I'm going to cut down on the amount of plastic bags that I'm using. And then you could say, now I'm going to bring mason jars or reusable containers to the bulk store instead of buying packaged goods. And slowly, all these small steps that you're taking start to build up, and eventually you have a sustainable diet. Or it could apply to your fashion choices. You can't just say, I'm going to throw out my entire wardrobe and make it sustainable, because that's going to cost you a lot of money. I can tell you that right now. And why would you throw out perfectly good clothes that you've already spent money on? Because you're wasting your own money that way, and you're wasting the materials and the resources and the energy that went into making those clothes. So start small, start simple. Don't put pressure on yourself to be this crazy influencer who's spent a lot of money and a lot of time, and that's probably their career. So don't try to be that person yet. Just try to take one small step. Try to make one change in your life, and when that works well, try another and just keep building. The second tip I have for you is to find a role model. So find someone who is living the sustainability lifestyle you want to live, or is practicing certain sustainability habits that you really want to try out in your life, but you're not sure how to start, and learn from them. If you know them personally, maybe ask them a few questions. Ask them how they got started, if they have any advice, or if they know any brands that will help them live more sustainably. And do that. And that's different from what I was saying a few minutes ago about don't try to be this influencer and don't try to live exactly like someone. It's very different because you are learning from people. You are learning what they've gone through, and you're giving yourself a sense of direction. If you have a role model, you can say, they have done it. Look what this person is doing. I can try to build my skills, or I can try to build my lifestyle to be similar to theirs, because they are in a similar living condition as I am. They are relatable to me. And so I know that the actions they are taking may work for me. They might not 100% work, but there's a high chance that they will. And if they're a good friend, or if they're someone I really look up to, then it would be all the more worthwhile to reach out to them and learn from them. And if you're learning from someone that you really admire or you were really close to, it's going to make not only that connection stronger, but it's also going to make your sustainability journey even more important to you, because you were learning from those you care about. The third tip: step outside of the box. I see this a lot online, especially on Instagram. It's always Instagram. People just doing one action that they think is hashtag sustainable and promoting it and tweeting it and doing all these things. Like, I'm sorry, I can't deal with paper straws. They drive me nuts when people are using them and they're like, I'm hashtag sustainable, look at me. It drives me nuts because, first of all, you don't need that straw. And second of all, just because it's paper doesn't mean it's sustainable. Was the paper harvested sustainably? You're still creating waste in the first place. Promoting the use of a product that will be used once for a few minutes and discarded. It's not sustainable. Yes, it may break down faster than plastic, but that doesn't mean it's sustainable. That's the challenge with sustainability. There are a lot of trade-offs. Like, you may think that switching out dairy milk is better for the environment if you're drinking almond milk, but do you know how much water goes into almond harvest? Do you know the challenges behind it? Do you know the labor rights? All these other things that encompass sustainability. It's such a complex issue, and it's so multi-layered and multifaceted. You can't just say, I'm just going to make this one thing happen. I just got off on a tangent there. I'm going to gear back, step outside the box. So don't just follow the trends that you're seeing online about sustainability. Don't just be like, I'm going to use a paper straw and that's it. Try something different. Try something that you haven't thought about before. What I like to do is when I'm going through my day, so I wake up in the morning, and as I go through my day, I think about everything I'm doing. I think about all the waste I create. I think about all the products I interact with. And then I say, is there a more sustainable option for this? Is there a change I can make? How much would that change cost me in time and money? Can I make that change? And when you go through life like this, you might realize there are a lot of objects or a lot of services and materials you use in your everyday life that are pretty unsustainable. And if you didn't go through that process of daily observation and reflecting on what you're doing and what you're using, you wouldn't realize that it might be a problem and you can change your habits to be more sustainable. So for instance, I wake up in the morning, have breakfast, brush my teeth. When I go to the bathroom, I look at the products I have on the counter. My toothpaste is now tooth tabs, so they are in a recycled bottle that I can bring back to the store I get them from, and they can recycle it again. My toothbrush is made of recycled bamboo. I'm still trying to get a more sustainable version because it's not the most sustainable option that there is, but it's something. I also don't have paper towels, really. I use reusable cloths to clean everything. I use vinegar to clean. I use bar shampoo, bar conditioner, bar face wash. Cutting down on my plastics, all of my moisturizers and all those type of products come in recycled packaging that I can take back to the store in a trade-in program. Then when I go to my closet, most of my clothes are from thrift stores or they're from sustainable clothing brands that really care about the quality of the products that they use and the materials. And they have ethical production practices, so they're taking care of their employees, they're taking care of the environment. Then I pack my lunch, which is all in reusable containers. It's all vegetarian, it's all mainly plant-based. Sometimes there's like soy products that have been modified or have been packaged, but I'm really trying to focus more on whole grains, legumes, tofu, tempeh that I can get from the bulk store, all these things to make my life more sustainable. I go to work, I drink loose leaf tea, so I use a reusable metal strainer instead of trying to use tea bags that come in packaging. All these little things that you might not think about in your everyday life, I really encourage you to take just one day and go through your life and figure out, what am I using that's not sustainable? And try writing it down maybe. Put it on a list on your phone or write it down on a piece of paper. And then at the end of the day, reflect and say, okay, why don't I choose one item to change in the next week or in the next day, whatever timeline works well for you, and make that change. And you will realize, wow, like I have a lot of work to do, but that's a lot of opportunity that I can change things starting right now. The next tip, which is tip number 4, is don't be hard on yourself. I find this is very common with people, especially if they are friends or if they are close with someone who may be living a more sustainable lifestyle than them. For instance, I hear this a lot from my friends or even my friends' parents. If they're not doing something that's sustainable, they feel bad about it and they say to me, "Oh, Jenna, I'm so sorry. Please don't get mad at me. I'm sorry I ate meat or I use this straw," or something like that. And I understand where they're coming from with that, but then at the same time, I'm like, you don't have to apologize to me. It's your life. I've messed up too. I've made mistakes. I'm not 100% sustainable all the time. Not at all. There will be times where I ask for no straw at the restaurant and it comes with a plastic straw. Or there's times where I don't have an option and I have to eat out somewhere or someone offers me food wrapped in plastic. Like, these things happen and you just can't be hard on yourself, because when you're hard on yourself, you don't want to keep pushing yourself forward. You just feel negatively and you say, I have to do this, or I'm a bad person. No, you have to say, what are the circumstances I'm living in? The circumstances I am living in make it very challenging to live a completely sustainable lifestyle, and there are going to be moments where I'm not able to live completely sustainably. But when those moments happen, I just have to pick myself up, brush myself off, learn from those mistakes, say, where could I improve or how could I avoid this in the future? And then keep going forward and use that as a learning experience. And that's it. If it happens, it happens. It's done. Just move on. The final tip that I have for you, tip number 5, is a very, very, very important one. So I want you to listen, okay? That tip is do not stop. I hear people who will switch out their plastic bags for reusable bags or use a reusable water bottle instead of plastic bottles, and they say, okay, I'm living sustainably. I don't have to do anything else. I'm like, look what I've done. I switched this. Or if I'm talking to people and if they're asking me about sustainable living or something, or like what I'm doing, and I say about maybe reusable food containers or using beeswax wraps instead of plastic wrap, or I'm saying, hey, you can make your life more sustainable by doing X. by doing this. They say, well, I'm already living sustainably. I already recycle. I already use reusable bags or a reusable water bottle. So I've done my part. I do not like the saying, I've done my part, because sustainability is not something where you can say, I've done my part, because your part is always going to keep going. I never say I've done my part for the planet, because my part will never be done and it will not be done until I die. And even then, I would like the lessons I'm teaching people and the knowledge that I'm sharing to continue on. So my part is never done. And if I switch out my bags for reusable bags or reusable water bottles, then I have to ask myself, okay, what's the next step? Because the planet's not gonna, because I switched out my water bottle, the planet's not just gonna stop global warming. It's not gonna, species are still gonna keep dying. The planet's gonna keep warming. There's going to be constant conflicts over depleting natural resources, over climate change, over extreme weather, all these things. And I'm not saying that the actions you take will directly stop climate change, because that's not realistic. But the accumulative actions of everyone all the time, continuously working, will make a difference. And it's not something that we can see in this immediate moment. It's going to be years down the road that we start seeing the positive impacts. But in order to see those positive impacts, you have to keep taking action. You can't just say, I'm done for the day, or it's the weekend and I'm not going to live sustainably. I understand if you were saying, I'm going to start small by maybe trying to live more sustainably during the week and then not on the weekend. But build towards doing it every single day. Build towards doing it at every moment whenever you can. You can't say, I've done my part and I'm done, because the planet does not have a one action threshold. One action is important. Yes, and I do say one action can make a huge impact. It can, but repeating that one action every day and not building on it is not going to do much. You need to build one action a day, then add another action and another action. You need to build that momentum. And if you don't do that, then you're not going to live a sustainable lifestyle. One action does make a really big difference, despite what I just said, because if you are taking those actions every single day, if you are building, if you are constantly striving to be the best and be the most sustainable you can possibly be, you will get there, and you will inspire other people to get there as well. And everyone working together to create their own individual sustainable lifestyles will contribute to a more sustainable planet, will help us live a more prosperous, brighter future where we don't have to worry about food or fresh water or natural disasters or any of these things. But it takes all of our actions combined together and supporting one another in order to get to that position. Okie dokie. And yes, I just said okie dokie. Don't judge me. I say it a lot. Those were my 5 tips for starting a sustainable lifestyle. As you can see, they're pretty simple. Just taking these actions or taking these recommendations and implementing them in your everyday life will make a change. And you might not see it, or you might not understand how your individual actions can contribute to a larger scale change, but they really can. If you are starting small actions in your own life every day, you might start inspiring other people to take small actions in their life. If you find a role model and you reach out to that role model and say, hey, I think you're doing an amazing job in the sustainability world, I would really like to learn from you, that makes that role model feel amazing, because then their actions are actually making a difference and they can feel that themselves. If you are stepping outside of the box, going beyond the conventional sustainability tips and trying to really break down your everyday activities to make everything you do more sustainable, that is going to make your sustainability efforts all the better and all the more bulletproof, essentially. If you're not being hard on yourself, if you are being gentle and forgiving with yourself, you are going to feel more positive and more eager towards building a sustainable lifestyle, because you're not afraid of being negative to yourself. You're not afraid of beating yourself up, because you don't have to be. We all make mistakes. We all have rough patches in our sustainability journeys, but you just have to pick yourself up and keep moving on. And we all have to keep going. We can't stop our journey just because we've quote unquote done our part. Your part will not end. Your part has to keep going, because this is the world that we live in now, and this is the world that people will live in future generations. And it's up to us to make a change now to support those future generations and to support our future selves. I hope you enjoyed these 5 tips about living sustainably. I hope that they connect with you. I hope that you enjoyed or really take 1 or 2 or all of them to heart. And I hope you start implementing them in your everyday life. I want you to tag me online. I want to see what actions you are taking. So if you start taking sustainability actions after listening to this podcast, tag me on Instagram at _CTA blog or on Twitter at _CTA blog, and tell me what you're doing. I really want to see what you're doing. I want to see if you're stepping outside of the box, if what small steps you're starting with, who your role model is. I want to know everything about your sustainability journey, because sustainability is all about supporting one another. It's all about learning from each other, building momentum off of each other. And by working together in this space, we can make a more sustainable future, and we can do that together. I hope you have a great day. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, please subscribe and leave a review. And thank you for listening. Until next time.